I woke up to the vibration of my phone at 3:57 a.m. The shrill buzzing cut through the quiet of our Brooklyn apartment, dragging me from a half-conscious fog. I reached blindly across the nightstand, rubbing my eyes, and froze when I saw the message. One unread text, glaring back at me like a neon warning. It was from my wife, Selena. "I'm at a hotel with my ex. Come get me." My chest tightened, and the room seemed to shrink around me. For a fleeting second, I thought it must be a cruel joke, a mistake, maybe a wrong number. But the name on the screen was hers, clear as day. Selena, the woman I had trusted above everyone. My pulse slammed in my chest. A million thoughts ran through my mind, none of them comforting. Could it be a misunderstanding? Maybe she'd gone to the wrong hotel, or perhaps it was a casual meeting she didn't want to explain. But deep down, I knew the truth didn't bend like that. People don't accidentally end up in hotels with their ex in the middle of the night. I threw on sweatpants and a hoodie, grabbed my keys, and stepped into the still streets. The city was eerily silent, yellow streetlights casting long, distorted shadows. My hands shook on the steering wheel, and every turn seemed heavier than the last. My mind screamed questions I didn't want the answers to. Why there? Why now? Who else knows? I tried to reason with myself, searching for some rational explanation, but the thought of her words burned through every doubt. By the time I pulled into the dimly lit parking lot of the roadside hotel, my body felt as if it were moving underwater. Selena was standing by the entrance, her arms wrapped around herself, shivering in the early morning chill. Her hair was messy, makeup smudged, and her usual confidence was gone. When she saw my car, she hurried toward it and slid into the passenger seat without a word. For a long moment, silence wrapped around us like a heavy curtain. Finally, I asked, my voice low, controlled, but trembling with barely contained anger. "Why?" She swallowed hard, staring at her lap. "It was a mistake," she said, barely audible. I laughed, bitter and sharp. "A mistake? Sneaking off at 4 a.m. to meet your ex, sending me a text like a dagger to the chest. And all it was a mistake?" The irony of calling it a mistake, while standing in a hotel parking lot at dawn, was almost laughable, if it weren't so devastating. Tears welled in her eyes, but I couldn't summon a trace of sympathy. Not after the shock, not after the betrayal. I forced the words out, each syllable heavy with disbelief. "How long? How many times?" "This was the first time," she whispered, her voice breaking, barely audible. I wanted desperately to believe her, to cling to the idea that this was a single lapse, an anomaly. But trust doesn't survive text messages like that, and love alone couldn't fix what had been broken in an instant. The drive back through quiet Brooklyn streets was suffocating. I gripped the wheel so tightly my knuckles turned white. Selena sat silently, staring out the window, shoulders hunched, sobs stifled. The apartment we shared felt miles away, a place that once offered comfort, now tainted with doubt and fear. Every glance at her face reminded me of the moment in the parking lot, her eyes full of guilt, and the unbearable weight of what I now knew. Days passed in a haze. She tried to make amends, cooking my favorite meals, leaving heartfelt notes on my desk, sending long apologies by text. But nothing could undo the betrayal. Every time her phone buzzed, my stomach dropped. Every whispered conversation she had outside my ear made me feel sick. I became someone I didn't recognize, paranoid, suspicious, hollowed out. 2 weeks later, she tried again, sitting across from me at the dinner table, hands clasped, eyes pleading. "Can't we start over?" she asked softly. "I made a mistake, yes, but can't we fight for us?" I stared at her, the woman I had once believed was my forever. "You want me to fight?" I asked slowly. "But you didn't. You had the chance to fight for us the moment he messaged you. You had the chance when you agreed to meet, when you got dressed, when you drove there, when you walked into that hotel. 100 chances, every step of the way, and every time you chose him." Her eyes filled with tears, but I couldn't stop. "I don't know how to love someone I can't trust. And right now, I can't trust you." The silence that followed was deafening. That night, I drafted divorce papers. I didn't tell her immediately, but the act of writing them felt like reclaiming a part of myself I had lost. When I handed them to her a week later, she broke, collapsing onto the couch, sobbing. "I thought you'd forgive me," she whispered. I shook my head, calm but resolute. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. And I will never forget that text. She begged, promised therapy, pleaded for one more chance, but I was done. The papers went through. The house grew quieter, the nights lonelier than I wanted to admit, but free. Free from the paranoia, free from the late-night doubts, free from the gnawing fear that the person lying beside me was living a double life. Sometimes I still wake at 4 a.m., heart racing, remembering that message. But now, instead of anger, I feel clarity. Her betrayal shattered me, but it also rebuilt me. Stronger, wiser, less naive. I know one thing for certain. Love without trust isn't love at all.